Monday, February 12th, 2024, and this is the regular session of the Berlin Mayor and Council. Please join us in a moment of silence, followed by the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that Councilmember Orris made the motion, I forgot to say that, and that all council members voted in favor of approving the consent agenda, and that Councilmember Nichols is absent. Up next is agenda item number 2, presentation of proclamation 2024-01, honoring National Black History Month. So, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas National Black History Month is celebrated every February in recognition of achievements by Black Americans throughout the United States. Whereas the town of Berlin celebrates the rich history, culture, and contributions of Black Americans who have shaped our community. Whereas the National 2024 Black History Month theme is African Americans and the Arts. Whereas African American art is infused with African, Caribbean, and Black American lived experiences in the areas of visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and other forms of cultural expression. The African American influence has been paramount. Whereas the town of Berlin has been indelibly shaped and influenced by its own native Black artisans. Whereas we can all celebrate the immeasurable contributions of Black Americans and honor their national, state, and local legacies and achievements. Whereas we must also reckon with centuries of injustice and confront those injustices that still fester today. Whereas we live in a country that was founded on the idea that all are created equally, let the town of Berlin continue to come together this Black History Month to preserve and understand our history and embody the idea of freedom, equal treatment, and equal opportunity for all. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Council of the town of Berlin do hereby proclaim the month of February 2024 as our municipality's observance of Black History Month. In witness whereof I have set my hand and seal the seal of Berlin and affixed 12th day of February 2024. So thank you, and thank you to all that we've had many folks in our community that are Black leaders and that have contributed drastically to our community over the years and since its inception. So one sitting beside me, another one that doesn't sit too far down the row, and then Mr. Smack, who was our first Black council member, so who's no longer with us. So thank you all. Up next is agenda item 3, items for approval. There will be public comment offered before each approval item is actioned by the council. Up first is 3A, motion 2024-06, the approval of special event application for Record Store Day on Saturday, April 20th, 2024. And our Economic and Community Development Director, Ivy Wells, is going to run point.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Good evening.
For those who aren't familiar with Record Store Day, it is a national holiday that has been celebrated for quite a number of years, celebrating artists, original artists, and their original music. And when they have an album that they'd like to release, it's done on Record Store Day, and record stores around the country celebrate this achievement. And during our last monthly merchant meeting, the owners of Soundstorm Records brought the idea to the group at the meeting, and we really liked the idea. And then I brought it up to the Berlin Arts and Entertainment Advisory Board, and they also were in favor of the idea as well. And when we sat down to talk about what the event would entail, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be taxing on town services on that Saturday. Happens to fall on Saturday, April 20th. So we decided to have the event a little bit shorter hours, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., working with the local businesses to have events in their shops as well. What we are asking for is to have Pitt Street closed from the 410 Social intersection of William Street to the end where Main Street begins. Main Street would not be closed to traffic. Main Street would remain open, and also Gay Street, where Soundstorm Records is. And you can see that on your map also, where Soundstorm Records is, to the rear of the fence where Tiki Tim's is for the Globe. What the event would entail is on Pitt Street, it would be vendors, musicians swapping and selling some of their musical equipment, and we are working with another Berlin business called Cozy Recording Studio. The gentleman who owns that is actually on tour right now. He's a sound tech for a variety of national artists that, if you want to find out who they are, just ask me after the meeting. But he is on tour right now with them. And he's been wanting to do this for quite some time now. And then also the owner of Blazer, she wants to bring in other vintage clothing vendors. So it would be vintage clothing vendors, musical instruments, and other vinyl for sale just on Pitt Street, with probably a local artist playing only original music. And then Soundstorm Records, they're going to have Cal Toner performing because she's releasing an album that day. She's a local artist. I think she's only 18 years old. She's really talented. And so they're either going to have her play in the Globe or on Gay Street. Usually Record Store Day, you have quite a bit of a line for people waiting to get in. The record store, Soundstorm Records, gets a variety of limited edition new releases, and people line up early in the morning to try to get those. So what we're asking for is to be able to celebrate Record Store Day on Saturday, April 20th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. I've talked with Jimmy and the crew. They would just leave the barricades the night before, and then we would just set them up. Maybe a porta pot or two, but other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Any discussion by the council?
So, I mean, is there any cost to the town?
No.
And are any of the vendors paying a fee, or is it just come set up?
No, they pay the town a fee to set up.
Okay.
It's a vendor fee, and then it comes right to the town of Berlin.
And the other question I had is, why is the town taking lead? Why not the record shop owner?
The record shop owner is taking lead. It's a combo event between all of us. They just got back from their honeymoon, so they couldn't be here tonight.
Is this event
Right.
part of the annual list that we have already approved?
No, this was a last minute addition that was brought to our attention at the last merchant meeting.
See, I have been under the impression that when things come up, and we already approved the list of events, this would be something that we could consider for the upcoming year, but not immediately. I remember a young lady came in here and wanted to have a parade down Flower Street, and she was told that the event did not make the annual calendar of events, and she should present that the following year to be included on the list of events for the upcoming year.
Right.
And I would suggest that we would handle this event in the very same way.
I can tell you this, I'm very familiar with National Record Day. My cousin only listens to vinyl records, and he waits for this day. He lives for it. He will travel hundreds of miles to go
A
to
lot of people.
certain record stores
Right.
to buy specific music that's only available that day.
Right.
And so I have no doubt it will be very successful.
And it will be, and he's, the Soundstorm Records celebrates this every year. They just wanted to do something a little more this year. And I know that the Globe, they're doing something inside the Globe. So we had just discussed that we would do something a little bit extra so the town could be involved in it. But, you know, that's why I'm presenting it tonight to all of you.
My grandson, he is a connoisseur of vinyl. He collects it and he plays it and things of this nature. But although I think this would be a very interesting event and would be beneficiary to the town, but in order to be consistent and treat everyone the same, I would suggest that this event be considered for the calendar for the upcoming year.
Okay.
Ivy, I just have a couple.
Yeah.
So on Gate Street there, would the barricade include, when you said to the fence of Tiki, is that all the way down to where the Tiki goes out onto Gate, or is it before the entrance into the Tiki bar? You know,
So
see what
it
I'm saying?
would, so the goal was to allow for people to go in and out of the Atlantic Hotel parking lot and also still be able to reach Pop's Kitchen. So it would just be that small area on Main
And,
Street.
Speaking of Pops, are they aware of this?
I believe so. That was, like I said, this is a combination event with all of us, and I'm here presenting that to you. But I believe that they have, but I wasn't the one to contact them.
Thank you.
So if there's no further discussion, we'll open it up to anybody from the public that would like to address the mayor and council regarding motion 2024-06, the approval of a special event application for Record Store Day. All right, then we'll ask the council to take action.
So, while I respect Dean's opinion, and I think it's a valid one, I just think in this case, with the resources, the limited resources that the town will be providing, I'd like to make a motion to approve 2024-06.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Green.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Councilmember Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Let the record reflect that the motion 2024-06 passes 3-1 with Councilmember Burrell opposed. Sorry, you're here. Oh, Councilmember Nichols absent. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you.
Up next is item 3B, motion 2024-07, the approval of employee step and grade system. And our Human Resources Director, Kelsey Johnson, is in the room again.
Hello.
Hello.
It's been a while. I haven't seen you guys. Basically, when we met at the end of November, we discussed creating a step and grade system with 25 grades and 21 steps. So I did go ahead and do that, and then we placed employees on a grade. We evaluated the positions. We kind of used PayPoint HR's initial grading kind of as a starting point, and then we built off of our needs and our organizational structure within the town, and we made some adjustments. So you have a staff report in here, as well as the step and grade system, which we do realize got cut off in some of the packets. I don't know about all of them, but some of them, they all have it. Okay. It's supposed to be printed on larger paper, but the packets don't really want to do that sometimes. So what you have in here on page 20 of the packet, I believe, is how PayPoint graded each position, and then what we are recommending. There was one adjustment, and that was that grade 19 would actually be an empty grade, and both the Economic Development Director and Planning Director would both be moved to a 20. That is the only adjustment we've made since this was sent to you all. And then you guys had also expressed some interest in accounting for tenure. So on page 22, you'll see how many employees fall. We have one that has 40 plus years of service, one 35 plus years of service, and so on. So you can see that in here. I have not done that today, but I did do it, just not I didn't complete it yet because I wanted to see if you guys were okay with starting with this and going from here. So what you have in front of you today is bringing everyone to a grade, to the nearest step, +1 per your direction. So I don't know.
If you
I'll
don't
open the
mind,
floor
just,
to you all.
I'll go over the total cost of implementing what was requested, just so that everybody's
Yep.
aware of where we're at.
So I ran the sheet again today, because we've had some people be hired. We had one that has just put in for retirement, so I made adjustments if we were to hire next year. And so that grand total as of today, and keep in mind, this may change. We have employees in the lineman program, they get steps as they go. We have police officers that as they hit years of service, they see an increase. So some of those things aren't accounted for in here, but it should be pretty nominal. But right now, the grand total for bringing everyone on this step and grade system, plus the one additional step to account for FY25 is about $170,000. With fringe, it was about $211,000. So that is what you have in front of you. I do know you expressed interest, like I said, in accounting for some more tenure, but I just wanted to see if this is a solid starting point for you all, and then I can come back to you with tenure. I also did call around and get some ideas for COLA, if that was something you were going to consider. So I'm happy to share that information with you as well. I don't know if you want it now or...
We'll open it up for discussion.
Pretty sure those numbers.
Yes, so Ocean City said they did a 3% COLA January 1 and 3.5% merit increases. I talked to several others in the area, and I heard anywhere from 3 to 6% is what they're budgeting for COLAs. Another agency said they're doing a step, which their step is also 2.5%, plus a 3% COLA is what they're going to present to their council. So that's just kind of an idea for, like I said, anywhere from about 3 to 6% as of right now. So
Now, one more time, can you share the numbers associated with
Yes.
this presentation?
Yes, 170,000 would be that total for salaries, and an increase, and then with an estimated fringe in there, it's came to about 211,000 with fringe.
And what would a 3% COLA add to it?
I don't have that number in front of me today. I didn't know, I didn't get into that.
We can
Yeah,
do some
roughly,
projections.
But I can definitely get it to you once I have some direction on this, and if you guys are okay with moving forward with this, I'll plug those numbers into the spreadsheet I use for the budget, and then it's very easy to make adjustments for COLAs in that spreadsheet, so.
Keep in mind too, the number that you have that Kelsey just quoted, the 170 and then the 211 all in, that does include putting everybody where they are now, and then a 2.5% move for FY25.
Yeah, what I
Just so
did,
that everybody's aware of that.
yeah, I rounded everyone to, I took their current amount that they're being compensated, I rounded it to the nearest step, only going up, I didn't round anybody down, and then I added one step. So anyone is seeing an increase of anywhere from 2.5% for that additional step I did in there, and then, so you're gonna see anywhere from 2.5% to 5% based on how your rounding equaled out. And that was, like I said, what we had talked about in here, bringing everyone to the nearest +1. So that's,
Right. So just to hit that point again, because I think it's worthwhile, the concern we had last year was that we didn't impact every employee.
this does.
This does, right? So no matter if you're, where you are, everybody will be impacted because of that step increase.
Yes,
Correct, okay.
yes.
Right. And I remember from the last COLA you were talking about, and I'm going to go, it's around 1% COLA, the effect was around $60,000, from what I remember. Now,
That's going to change a little bit now
I
with
agree.
the pay study
Yeah.
and with this implementation.
But I think it's just important to
Yeah.
kind of have that number because that'll be a decision that we have actually, coming before us here soon, but this is a lot of work and I think we all understand that, appreciate that. And I think that was where I was really, back when we last talked about this, was the goal would be to, personally just make sure that we impacted everyone that, because I don't think any of us are really comfortable with that last year. We made a massive investment and a massive change for everyone, but there were some that weren't impacted, and I don't think that sat well with any of us. So, I like the direction we're headed for sure. And, $210,000, I think that's the whole number, that's the number we want to be looking at. But I do have a question about the tenure. Do you have a thought as far as like how we would address tenure beyond what is already in the proposal?
Yes. I don't, no, I printed this, and now I'm not seeing it in front of me, all these papers. So I did go ahead, and what I did with the figures you're seeing on, I believe that was page 22, well, not figures, but you can see how many employees, like I said, we're at each increment there. So 40 years is a long time, so I took that, and I was trying to work with it, but make it a possible number. Now, I'm not going to give out any exact figures because I don't, like I said, I printed it, but I guess I left it downstairs. But it, I basically was like, okay, say we gave 10 additional steps for that person that's had 40 years. I tried to work my way down, and then maybe 8 steps for anybody that had over 30 years, maybe 6 additional steps for anyone that had over 20 years. But it adds up very quickly. So what I was running was coming out to be about the same amount as what you're looking at right now, and that's just for adding those steps for those tenured employees. So it's going to be something that's going to need some massaging to get it to something that might be more doable. So I do have some ideas in mind. I just think it's going to be playing with numbers, so I wanted to kind of have like a good starting point and then work my way from there. I mean, it's something I could get to you guys in the next, maybe the next council meeting, but I could also, like I said, present some COLA options too. I just need a starting point, and then I can work figures from there. It's just kind of hard to give you amounts if it's going to be based on, possibly this, then I have to know that. So.
One interesting thing when we were meeting, you, Mary, and myself, that when we discussed tenure, I can't recall who brought it up, but the discussion item was that people have not been untouched.
Right, it's
for
not like
that
they've
whole
never
tenure.
received. Right.
So we're trying our best, but it's really hard to go back and like correct
Yeah.
I'm not saying throw that off to the side, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it is very, very difficult.
Yeah, and then I did, okay, well, what if I did half of that as a starting point? So then I ran those figures. And again, it was still a large amount, but it was something that I think was more doable, like I said, to do. Instead of maybe 10 additional steps, we went to 5, and then I did 4, 3, 2, 1. So I did work with those numbers a little bit, but I figured, you know what, let me see if they want to do this first, and we'll go from there. But and I did put this in my staff report, but I did, either meet or speak with every department head too, and kind of explain, this is where we put your positions. Do you feel like this is a comfortable starting point? With the understanding that as we move on, we might make some adjustments, and that's okay, but this is just a good spot to start. So I think everybody was on the same page with that. Obviously, people want to see additional things done for their employees that have been here 20, 30 years, as well as some COLAs, and that's...
So in your staff report, you're recommending option number 3, which, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of locks us into doing the STEP program, which is great, and doing COLA. However, if we chose option number 2, it doesn't preclude us from doing the COLA.
Yeah,
But
sure.
it gives us the option to say, this year we have the funding, we can do it.
Yeah.
There's 3 kind of mandates us to do.
Well, that's not what this is just a recommendation. You guys could make whatever. I actually had in there a step or a option 2 or 3, and then I was like, well, if I'm saying what I really think people want to see, myself included, I'm going to write option 3. But I think option 2 is also something, like I said, that we could do today, and then we could decide, here's some numbers for you guys to take a look at for tenure. Here's some numbers to look at for COLAs. And then obviously, we've always operated on a July 1 increases, but if you felt like, it was something where, I don't know that we've done this in the past, but we needed to look at a January 1 for some of those things, that's not off the table either.
Yeah, because I want to see the COLA numbers for projected maybe out 5, 10 years in conjunction with the STEP program, so we know what that increase for COLA would be. At 3%.
Well, that's based on the market, or
Yeah, you would want to see the STEP program projected out 5 years probably, right? Because as,
We have a STEP program.
well, we have the STEP program, but we don't know the fiscal, it's not presented.
Yeah, you're right,
The
you're right.
fiscal outlook for, say, 3 fiscal years out.
But then also adding 3% COLA to those numbers, just so we see where that's going to go as well.
okay. I can, if I'm, as long as I have clear direction, I can work in some way, so.
So that's proceeding on the assumption that it's one step per year without consideration to
Yes.
tenure?
Yes.
Because that is a,
That might be a
that's a harder,
case-to-case
yeah,
basis.
yeah.
And I think that if we're considering option 3, which I think is on the table, that we need to look at it holistically with like where all of our costs are gonna come in as it relates to that FY25 budget. We are in that planning phase as well. This puts the employees at the front end every year. We know what our personnel costs will be. The only difference is what are we gonna do movement-wise on COLA? And that was our objective, and I think this STEP program really, step and grade system really does accomplish that.
So tell me, the folks that are beyond 25 years are not currently plugged in to the presentation?
They're plugged, every employee is plugged into here today. I was just saying, if you want to do some additional, I didn't do that yet. I wanted you to get,
Everybody else.
bringing everyone on the table with their current rate plus a step, and then go from there.
So tell me where the folks with 30 years would be plugged in.
Well, right now, what I did was, like I said, everyone's just at their current plus one. So if we were gonna look at 30 years, that's where I was saying, I originally did for 10 years of, or for 40 plus years of service, let's add 10 additional steps. Like I said, I know that added up pretty quickly, but, and then people with 30 plus years, give them 8 additional steps. You know, and I worked my way down, and then I got a figure there, and then I said, well, maybe if I cut that in half, maybe that's something we could do right now, and then later, maybe implement the rest or something. So I don't have a figure for you right now. I figured this was a starting point, and then I could work those numbers and get them back to you at a council meeting here in the near future, like maybe the next one. But today, what I did was place everybody on the step and grade, bringing them to the nearest step plus one
Without the longevity.
without
Yeah,
longevity.
10-year longevity is not considered in the
Yeah.
number she has calculated here.
Right.
But Dean, is your question because it only runs out 20-something
Oh,
steps?
okay.
Those folks that are beyond 25 years.
Right.
Would you consider moving them to the nearest grade?
We have done that.
Yes.
So this takes that into consideration. So if a position may have run all the way through where that position would be on steps through 21, we've adjusted the grade to accommodate that.
Okay.
Now, and if we
Nobody's at the
retire,
end.
Nobody is at the end right
Right.
now, but if we were to add those additional steps for longevity, we may have some that are, but right now, no one is.
and
But-
just as an example, like we typically hire our seasonal folks at a grade 1. So we're going to use that as an example. If somebody was here for 22 years, likely they would be over here. But what we would do is adjust their grade and move them
Plug them in where they are currently and instead.
to build a pathway, right? We didn't want to build something that didn't have a pathway for anybody.
Right.
And you'll notice some of the, as you progress through the grades, there's an overlap of the base salary. So if you move someone to the next grade, they would not go to the next grade, step 1. They would go to wherever.
Wherever they're.
Yes. And I've also talked to other organizations that instead of moving grades, they basically extend the sheet without actually extending it on paper. They just say that once you've hit that max step, you'll still, if a step is given, you'll still get 2.5% like everyone else. It's just no longer a step on here. So there are organizations that do that too after I've called around and stuff. So that's something to consider as well if we wanted to do that so people don't max out. So
And we're not trying to send a message that after 20 years, we
Yeah,
want to say
thank
goodbye.
you.
We
Right,
want to
you
find a
don't
pathway for
want-
everyone. So.
So Kelsey, a couple questions, please. I'm just not it's not clicking with me when you say an empty grade. What is it, just no one's in 19?
Yes, so when we had, and this is something, like I said, that can always be adjusted, but when we had done this with PayPoint, originally they had the 16 steps, but they said, you know, leave a space between your summer help and your regular employees. That way it's showing that you're not starting someone at right above a seasonal employee. You're gonna give them 2 above a seasonal employee. And then they said leave a position between like leave a grade or 2 between department heads to give some separation that, you know, these are the leaders of the town, and you know, that's kind of the route that they had recommended. And so we have 1 empty grade right before the town administrator, we have 2 empty grades before the department heads, and then we have 1 between seasonal and our regular full-time staff.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. And then obviously I see the list of classifications. What I'm kind of just concerned about is something that I've always been with this, not with work, but there's no enforcement position for code. And I would ask this group to think about anticipating such position.
Yeah.
This really doesn't include positions that don't currently exist. They can be plugged in wherever appropriate if a position is created and added.
It does include some that we have had in the past.
But yes.
So it might not be a filled current position, but it's something we've had in the past, and I did go ahead and include those. I didn't really do any new, I just kind of did ones that had existed, and I made sure we put them in there. Like there used to be a power plant superintendent. We don't have a power plant superintendent at this point, but there is a power plant superintendent included in this. So I tried to account for positions that have at some point existed but don't now, but I'm happy to add code enforcement in there as well.
And to also help maybe answer the question, if there's something, I know you're talking about code enforcement, but whatever the position may be, if needed within the town and we wanted to onboard such position that's approved by this body, what we would then do is find a like position to be able to categorize a grade for that position.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is like I'm just going to throw out another number. So the number that you gave us, 211,000, perhaps, I don't know, we should budget for additional position.
If that's something you guys want to see, that's not up to me.
So if we
It's up to you guys.
we go ahead with a code enforcement position or another admin assistant if we need that in the future, like, I think that this number is good, but I think that in our heads, maybe we should consider a future position and budget for that. If we have the funding, of course.
Right, yeah, we were tasked with, and Elsie predominantly tasked with existing staff and placement and what that cost would be, because the budget is right around the corner. So
no, I understand.
That's where our perspective was.
And I'm not knocking, you did a great job.
No, I'm not taking it that way at all.
But I think that, I mean, well, without throwing it out to the group, I think we should probably anticipate that.
But we can't add those positions until they have been approved.
Right.
So going forward, that is a budgetary consideration during budget time. And I just had one more thing. Talking about the empty grades. So now grade 19 is empty because those folks moved to 20.
Yes, that was just a mistake on when I printed this out. Yeah, they're at a 20, and then we had 2 spaces between staff and department heads. So 18 and 19 are empty. 20 is now what you had is 19.
So I think this is great. I think this is a good starting point. I do have to ask Mayor, Mary, and Natalie how we're looking for, if this 211,000 goes in, how we're looking in FY25.
I would say that we really haven't examined
not
into that depth yet.
Okay.
In addition to that, I want to bring it up to the point of how not everybody was touched last year as well, just expressing the concern of the people about the wage study, and whoever was not touched obviously been put a little bit behind on the grade. So the 211 should be considered for the fiscal '25, plus additional funding to basically touch everybody for the prior year and the next year.
So Kelsey, would it answer
But
the...
to answer your question, it's too early to know where this falls within the whole scope of the budget. Now, what it does do, and what I think is very important, is that this will be the number that goes in to the budget before we start. And we will work out the rest of it with this salary figure in mind. So that our employees are not at the end,
Right.
they're at the front.
Yes, I'm totally on board with that and agree. But what I'm asking is, would it be perhaps better to table the motion until the next meeting where you can get us the potential COLA numbers? Is that
It's not
possible?
going to change the 211.
Yeah, I would say the COLA
It's only
numbers are
gonna
going
go
to
up.
be based off the base
Oh, right.
rate, which would be these figures if you guys approve that. So I mean, I could give it to you, but,
So in essence,
Until this
we can go
is-
ahead with the option 3 or 2 or 3, and next meeting we can still come back with potential COLA numbers?
yes, yeah.
The
If
the recommendation would be 2, option number 2. And that as we work through the budget, let's figure out where we can go on 3. And the thing is that, to your point of asking where we stand on the budget, kind of hinges on this before we can start filling the other gap.
Okay.
Just to clarify as well, what you are making a motion on is whether or not this table will
Correct.
become effective. It's not really the detail of what the money will be, but that these numbers, these steps and grades are what you're,
So we're approving the framework,
This-
and the
Yes.
funding comes at budget?
Well,
yes.
with the understanding that this is what it's going to cost you. Yeah, that's what it's going to cost
This is
you.
what it's gonna cost.
Because you can't lock in a budget number
Right.
at this point. That would not be realistic.
But like Mayor Tyndall said, you know, we are trying to, we're trying to put the employee group first when that budget is done. Because in years past, it has unfortunately sometimes been, let's see what we can work with to give the employees. And this is kind of putting them first and then, okay, let's take a look at the budget. And so going forward, you know, it's not going to be this much of an impact because this is the rounding plus the steps. So you're going to see a greater impact this year than you probably will in future years. Because I'm not going to be rounding to the nearest plus one, so.
But to Councilmember Nur's point, when we do the general fund projections, or the general fund budget work session, we can show what that'll look like for 3 fiscal years out. That's part of the reason why we want this system, is it's going to provide more clarity from a financial perspective where we're going to be each year.
Right,
So,
yes. So,
So do we,
And it kind
So-
of puts our employees at ease because
Yes.
they know how to plan.
Well, and I think Lieutenant Fisher and I were talking today, you know, he was like, it will be nice when we hire someone to be able to say, here
This
you
is where you
go.
are.
This is what you can look forward to, and this is where, you know, other ranking officers fall, so that you have something to work towards. And it's just really outlining it for you guys, for staff, for hiring. It's really, you know, going to make things a lot more transparent.
But it would be nice to be able to say to staff that for this funding year, you can expect this step.
Yes,
this is the floor. This is like what the,
right. And COLAs are factored on the market, and
I don't want to open it up to public comment before.
I
Well, just one
return
other-
to a comment, Dave Fitzgerald
yeah.
replied concerning the fire department in how absolute he was with their salary considerations. And he said everyone is gonna be receiving a step, and we're considering a code.
Right.
So that's what I want our employees to be able to feel.
Yes.
Councilmember Green?
Yeah, I think that's very well said. You know, I think when the COLA comes back to us, before we come to that, the tenure thing, I think is, I mean, it's very tricky. I really think it's very tricky, and I think the grade is a great approach to take to it. You know, and it's, not all tenures are created equal. hate to say, so in a way, it's a case by case, and I think that's really going to be a big piece to this. And when you manage people for a living, you realize that, and I think so. I think the case by case approach is going to be a big part of it. And then just with the COLA, I think it's the flexibility that I think that we should really be entertaining. Obviously, the percentages, but the half calendar year approach is something I think would be hopefully be very understandable to folks. Private sector does that all the time. It's not July 1, it's all this. It's staggered throughout the strategy of anniversary years or things like that. But I think if just as a reminder, if you did do a COLA perhaps on January 1, it's half for the budget impact. So because we are going to have a significant increase. So I support a COLA. It's at what level is going to be what it comes down to. I think it's the flexibility of how we go about it that we should all keep in mind, and that it doesn't have to be the full fiscal year. We could potentially, especially considering what we know already with the step and grade, what it will mean, and that everybody did get moved up a step, that there's some tolerance, I would hope, to doing a COLA perhaps January 1st to break up the dollar amount, frankly. But I think it's great work, and like you said, Mary, you opened it up.
Yes, and I think that Natalie, I want to make sure that I'm correct in this. We should have time for the council to be able to evaluate this in conjunction with the budget and then potential COLAs during the general fund work session before we have to introduce any potential changes.
There's
correct?
time frame between the work sessions and the budget introduction, of course.
Thank you.
And if you would like to have a special meeting, just like we did last year for any particular event or subject, we can do that as well.
Let's see where things fall with the schedule that we have currently, and then we can always go from there. All right, anyone from the public that would like to address the mayor and council regarding motion 2024-07, the approval of the step and grade system for our employees? Just name